Okay, so we had a video about Pierre Polyev talking about Mark Carney. Well, now let's see what's new with Mark Carney. So, like I mentioned, he's currently in Ukraine. So again, he's not dealing with the issues we have in Canada. He decided to go to foreign country and focus on that instead of Canadians who voted him in, who pay the taxes, who literally pay his trip to Ukraine. And let's put it on the table one more time. We put more money on support to Ukraine than to fight our own domestic wildfires. And I think it's like 3 times more money. I'm not sure about the current number right now. It's in my video Blame Canada. But anyway, let's go.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has sprung a surprise at the start of his multi-country tour of Europe. He's in Ukraine today, a stop previously not listed on his itinerary. His visit comes at a key moment in Ukraine's war with Russia as peace efforts sputter. And Moscow claims its forces have taken control of 2 more communities on the eastern front line.
Пані та панове, прем'єр-міністр Канади Марк Карні.
In Kiev, Carney joined a ceremony marking Ukraine's 34th anniversary of independence. He pledged Canada's ongoing commitment to the Ukrainian war effort, unveiling more details of a recently announced military and financial aid.
Yeah, okay, that's where I have a first issue. What do you mean Ukrainian war effort? We should pledge support to the peace between Ukraine and Russia, not being like, hey, we're going to support you until you all die, because that's going to happen. Did you see the Russia? Did you see the population of Russia in comparison to Ukraine? Unless you send the troops, you're just wasting money. I'm sorry, but there's no way other than peace to win this war.
Aid package worth $2 billion.
Is that new?
Alongside Ukraine's president and first $1 billion.
No.
Canada's ongoing commitment to the Ukrainian war effort, unveiling more details of a recently announced military and financial aid package worth $2 billion. Alongside Ukraine's president and first lady, Carney also laid a wreath in honor of soldiers who have died in the fight against Russia and Russian separatists since 2014. The 2 leaders also signed agreements. Carney later telling the media conference he isn't ruling out deploying Canadian troops to Ukraine.
We are working through with our allies in the Coalition of the Willing and with Ukraine the modalities of those security guarantees on the land, in the air, and the sea, and I would not exclude the presence of troops. Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah, okay. What do you think about this? I'm lost of words. So the Canadian soldiers or troops will possibly go to Ukraine. And if I understand it correctly, it would be just to make sure, like, security guarantees, right, that there's not going to be another war with Russia or something like that, which, again, I don't understand why Canada should do it. You have European Union, you have NATO, US is obviously involved in Ukraine. Why does Canada need to get involved? I don't know. Sounds ridiculous to me given the situation Canada is right now, but...
Bring in the CBC's Briar Stewart. She's in Kiev right now. Briar, great to have you there. Can you break down from your perspective the significance of this visit?
Well, it's significant and also highly symbolic. I mean, this is a national holiday in Ukraine. It's when Ukrainians are commemorating their independence. And so to have a world leader, Prime Minister Mark Carney, come here and to participate in a very public ceremony in Sofia Square, it was very unusual. I mean, this is a country that is still under martial law because of the security threats. large gatherings are supposed to be prohibited. But in that square, and I was down there earlier today, there were hundreds of people, including military officials, their families, and dignitaries from various embassies. Now, they had their speeches that they delivered in the square, and later in the afternoon, they had a press conference. And Prime Minister Carney outlined and gave a little bit more specifics to previous funding that Canada had committed. So back in June at the G7 summit, Canada said it would commit $2 billion to Ukraine. Well, just over half of that is going to go to military supplies, which Ukraine urgently needs now. So things like ammunition, armored vehicles, drones. Canada has also announced that it's going to be having a joint drone production program with Ukrainian companies. That will involve Canadian manufacturers and Ukrainian companies working together to produce drones.
Where? In Canada or in Ukraine? In Canada, if you create more jobs, at least little win, right? If it's in Ukraine, I don't know. So let me get this straight. So Mark Carney, did he at least sign the trade deal with Ukraine? Because so far it looks like he's just giving out money to Ukraine. I didn't even hear anything about a loan or something like that. You know, like, okay, these $2 billion is a loan, and yes, it's nice that it's in military equipment. Well, we need some firefighting aircraft to fight the forest fires, so we don't all die of cancer, you know, because we're breathing in the particles. Again, like, I'm all in for support of Ukraine if we have some surplus of money, or at least if we have livable conditions in Canada. Because let's be honest, this is foreign politics, but our domestic politics is just horrible. And yes, even if we don't have surplus, if you put it up for referendum, if Canadians want to send this and this amount of money to Ukraine and it passes through, I'm okay with that. Yeah. If it's up for a referendum, sure, send us our tax money. But if it's not, and you're wasting our tax money for supporting the war and not supporting the peace, that's just ridiculous, man.
Carney and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky were asked about the peace talks and the ongoing conversation around security guarantees if there is a ceasefire. Now, the U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he wants there to be some kind of progress within the next 2 weeks. He wants the leader of Russia and the leader of Ukraine to sit down together. But Russia appears really unwilling at this moment. And when it comes to security guarantees in the event of a ceasefire, Russia has said that it doesn't want any kind of NATO-backed troops on the ground, no troops from Europe. Carney said he wouldn't rule out Canadian troops taking part, but I did ask him just how likely a ceasefire could be given the responses and the reaction that we're hearing from Russia. Here's some of his answer.
All of this,
don't listen to him.
in real time, as you ask your question, is under discussion about the specificities and the modalities. But it's not the choice of Russia how the future sovereignty, independence, liberty of Ukraine is guaranteed. It's the choice of Ukraine and the decisions of the partners.
He's just lying through his teeth again. What do you mean it's not choice of the Russia? Russia needs to sign on it. If not, they can just literally wipe Ukraine out of the map. What are you talking that it's not Russia's choice? What?
Well, Ukraine and its allies, including Canada, are adamant that Russia can't dictate the terms of any truce. This is, of course, a negotiation. And the issue now is that both sides are very, very far apart. Russia seems to be unmoved from its original goals and its original demands. So it is very hard to see at this point just how any kind of settlement could be reached soon.
And Briar, I know you've been out speaking with those most affected by all of this. What are you hearing from Ukrainians?
Well, when I was down at the square first thing this morning, there's that ceremony going on, and just outside of the security perimeter, there was a woman whose relative was being honored because he was killed in Russia's invasion, and she grew very emotional during the ceremony. And I spoke to her briefly. I asked her, what it meant for her to see international support. She said she felt very grateful. Obviously, it was a very moving thing to have her relative honored, but she also talked about just the exhaustion of living through more than 3.5 years of war, the loss that people are dealing with. We know soldiers are being killed every day, and of course civilians as well. And then just the fear that people are living in. In Kyiv here, it has been...
Soldiers, you mean the people who were civilians, but they were forced to protect their country? Because there was some order, right? I don't know what was the specific name, but I don't even know if Ukraine has someone who chose to be soldier nowadays. I feel like it's just all of the guys and men of the age were just called to arms, pretty much, right? Which is horrible. And like she said, 3.5 years, it's exhausting. Well, it is exhausting that they're not negotiating about a peace. They were supposed to negotiate from the day one. And not that European Union, US, and everyone's going to be like, oh, we're going to support you to the last breath. No, we're going to support you until you negotiate a peace. Come on. Or as long as you try to negotiate a peace. During Biden's administration, there was no negotiations. How is that possible? And then everyone's going to complain about Trump trying to negotiate peace? That's ridiculous.
Quite quiet over the last couple of days, but we know this summer that this city, the capital, has experienced some of the largest drone attacks of the war. People who used to hear the air raid alarm and would lie in their bed, go back to sleep, are now heading down to the shelters. The metro stations are full. Parkades in apartment buildings are full. Because there is a real fear here, just because of how Russia has ramped up the strikes. As I said, it has been quiet here for the last couple of days, but people are just so exhausted of what they've been living through. And as I said, these peace talks really seem to have stalled. There doesn't seem to be a lot of momentum, a lot of diplomatic talk, certainly, but there's really not. It doesn't seem to be a lot of progress to actually securing some kind of truce.
Briar, really appreciate your reporting for us there. That's the CBC's Briar Stewart reporting in Kyiv.
Again, are you surprised? Like, you let Russia, and I'm not saying Ukraine let Russia, okay? No, Ukrainians are so brave. They're fighting for their country. It's admirable what they're doing, what they were able to do. But the European Union, US, NATO, everyone, just let them take quarter of the Ukraine, and you expect that Russia's going to be like, okay, we'll give it back, it's okay, don't worry, here's the peace deal. Hell no.